Hello, beautiful brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Mental Funkyverse Smoking Lounge Edition. I haven't done one for a few days, I don't think. Last video I did was recorded was yesterday. It's my Grand Prix series, my Grand Prix online racing online series. So it's fun. I just started it the other day because it was a game that I played a few years ago, and did really, like a couple of years ago, something like that, and did really badly at it. It's like a Grand Prix simulator, and it's very in depth. You know what I mean? You've got to really go into lots of details about tweaking the parts and setting, pre-race tests and all this stuff. And yeah, it's just something I enjoy. But the issue is, and the thing with it is, it's like, because it's massively multiplayer online, everybody in the races is a human being who's got the car and doing the same thing. And each season they have like set times for the races, and that race will go on whether you are there or not. And the time, my time zone here in Cambodia is, it's the race will start at 1 o'clock in the morning. So, and now I'm determined to record every race and be there for every race and do the video just as a fun side series, but by the time I'm finished, and then I get all the bits together and give it to my AI to put together the video production, so it's all there ready for me the next day when I go get some sleep. After I get some sleep, it's knackered. It's usually like 4 in the morning, 3:30, 4 in the morning, and it just so happens that one of the 2 weekly races is on Tuesday. Well, it's basically Wednesday, 1 o'clock in the morning, and Wednesday is my AI club, which I am running, and so I have to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's like I have to be awake and getting ready by 8 o'clock. So I'm getting like 4 hours sleep, and so I am tired today. I'm tired. There you go. Yeah. Tired. That's how tired I am. I'm yawning on a smoking lounge. I haven't even lit my cigarette yet. I'm rambling. Anyway. So yeah, that's a bit of fun if you like that sort of thing, and you want to just sit there and watch me talk and ramble about a load of my race car going around the track and trying to get a good position, then by all means go check it out. It's in the Grand Prix playlist. Well, I'm thinking last night's was the 4th race of the season, so we're still early in the season. Anyway, it's been interesting, really, this last week or so, because a lot of things have been happening. A lot of stuff on my plate. We are moving this weekend, so we're moving house. I think I've said that on a previous video. So by this Saturday we're moving. So we've been packing around and stuff and getting ready to move the cats, and that's going to be interesting. We've got the tuk-tuk booked. We've got 4 kittens to transport, a mother cat, Shyla Principessa, my little black cat that is from the last litter, who hasn't been adopted, and to be honest with you, I've fallen in love with her. So I'm kind of glad she hasn't been adopted. She's so sweet, and I love her to bits. So we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4. We're gonna have 8 cats. Well, 4 cats and 4 kittens. I mean, technically, Principessa is a kitten still, but she's only a few months off sort of becoming a cat. And today, actually, just before I recorded this video, I did something I haven't done for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, is actually just look on my YouTube feed. I haven't looked on X for ages. Oh, by the way, my X account got suspended for inauthentic behaviour. And when I clicked to look on what they class as inauthentic behaviour, I honestly I can't understand what it was I was doing that was classed as inauthentic behaviour. All I was doing was liking, retweeting, bookmarking, going in the occasional X room. The only thing I was posting was just links to this channel. Whenever I posted a video, I would just put it onto my X feed. That's literally the only thing I was myself posting. The rest was just retweeting and liking and doing the things that you're supposed to do on Twitter, aren't you? I don't know. Anyway. So yeah, I hear, oh, by the way, when they suspend your account, they wipe out all your followers. They wipe out everyone you've been following. So that goes 0, and they clear out all your bookmarks. So all of my bookmarks from like the last 2 years, 3 years, gone. I'm not going to appeal it. I can't be asked, really, to be honest with you. Fuck them. They don't want me. Fine. If X doesn't want me on the platform, fine. They can go screw themselves. Sorry, Elon, but if your algorithm pegged me as behaving inauthentically when I was hardly really doing anything other than the things you're supposed to do on Twitter, I think you need to readdress that, sunshine. I know you're all busy with SpaceX, and you're all busy with Tesla and all of these, big other things, and but I think you should talk to somebody at X, bro, and and say what's going on with the algorithms, because just people are getting suspended for legitimately no reason. I thought that you took over X to stop that sort of thing from happening, but hey-ho. Anyway, so I looked on my YouTube feed, and obviously things coming up from what's happening in the UK. A lot's happened in 2 weeks. Surprise, surprise. There seems to be some strong movement occurring. Apparently there's an organization forming. I forget the name of the guy who was organizing it. I vaguely remembered his name. And in fact, if you want to see the video I watched about this particular thing, then I'll tell you now. I'll pull it up. It's on... the title of the video is Biggest British People's Army is Fighting Back. And that's on the Combat Ready HQ channel. And he talks about it. So you can just go and check it out for yourself if you want, to go and see what that's about. Apparently it's about 45,000 men committed to fast action response in terms of protesting. But protesting, and he's going to be, he's got like hundreds of coaches apparently who are going to be coaching these people on how to protest in a way that basically you can't be arrested, no violence, no disorderly behavior, in a way that if they arrest you, they will almost certainly be arresting you outside of any kind of law. They won't have a legitimate reason to arrest you other than the fact that you are protesting, which obviously is tyranny, full stop, on the line. So, I suppose in a way it's going down the old Gandhi route. In fact, that's a good point. Let's talk about Gandhi for a moment. I highly recommend watching the film, Filmography, the film that they made about Gandhi's life, and I think it was Ben Kingsley who played him. Yes, if I'm not mistaken, Ben Kingsley. Great movie. great movie. And Ben Kingsley plays an absolutely spot on Gandhi. I really love that movie. I watched it multiple times. And I'm in these times. It's ironic, isn't it? It's ironic, isn't it, that Gandhi was led a powerful protest movement in resistance to the occupation of India by the British Empire. And he did it non-violently, peacefully, and essentially by forcing the, or quote-unquote authorities, the British authorities, to be the ones who enacted violence on them. And to not resist that violence in any way, shape or form, to stand and to walk into that violence, essentially. So that those who are on the outside looking in and watching would see only one thing, and that is peaceful, non-violent people being brutally beaten down by an authoritarian regime. And so, so he, in essence, judoed. You could look at it in that way. Judoed the British Empire into eventually releasing India and ending its occupation. Because the British authorities, they used the violence. They tried to stamp it out, use force. And the more force they used in the face of that methodology that he was employing, just went against them. The more they did it, the more it went against them, until eventually they found themselves in an untenable position, and where they could no longer justify that position. And it became just a nightmare. It became a logistical nightmare. It became an administrational nightmare. And at that stage, the British Empire was already falling to pieces, because we'd given away good chunks of it, payment for getting America into the war, World War II. So the British Empire was already on its way out. And those acts of violence and force against the protesters, the Indian protesters and Gandhi's supporters, was, to be honest with you, it's probably more just the desperate thrashings of a dying beast, really, more than it was an active tyrannical presence trying to maintain control of the continent through violence. It was just as a state of play, as a standard operating procedure. It was just more, as I say, the thrashings of a dying beast than anything. But it still proved a valid point, that when you gather enough people together and just stand, and you don't insult, you don't verbally attack, you don't physically attack, you don't use violence, you don't cause damage, you just stand and say no, no more, and we're not moving until this stops. And if anything, the only direction we're going to be walking is into the batons, into the gunfire. I think what was one of my favorite quotes was when he gave a speech in India, and he said, they can beat us and they can beat our bodies to a bloody pulp, but then all they will have is our dead bodies. They will not have our freedom. They will not have our dignity. They will not have our subservience. They will not have our willingness to take the knee. But they can have our bodies if that's what they want. What good is that to the empire? Obviously, I butchered that quote and paraphrased it, but go see the movie. See the movie. It's great. It's really, really good. And when I saw this movement that's going on in the UK right now, that's what came to my mind. And the irony of it is that the methodologies that were employed to assist in ousting one of the greatest empires in human history is now having to be employed by the people who are left with the remaining dregs of that once great empire, in resisting the influx of people from that very same subcontinent who are going to there to essentially conquer it. I mean, at this stage, it cannot be argued that the masses of beings who are pouring into Europe, pouring into the UK from North Africa, from the Middle East, from the Asian subcontinent, they're not coming to enrich and to support the British culture and to help maintain and grow the British culture, to protect and to preserve British heritage and way of life. They are going there to conquer it. And using migration as a weapon of war is a standard historical practice. Fact check me if you want. You can find, I'm sure it won't take long for you to find multiple volumes, multiple books that have been written on that fact, books that have not necessarily been written specifically on that fact, but include that fact within them. That yes, absolutely, immigration has been used as a form of warfare and conquest. Of course it has. The whole issue with Northern Ireland and the troubles in Northern Ireland was because the British transplanted a massive population from the English mainland into Northern Ireland, knowing full well that several generations down the line they will be truly embedded in there, and they would, and that's what happened. It's exactly what happened. You cannot argue anymore that what's happening in the UK is a refugee crisis. There is no refugee crisis anymore. What are they refugees from? Which war are they refugees from? Tell me. Point to the war that they are point to the war which is causing millions of refugees from all across North Africa and the Middle East and the Asian subcontinent all at the same time to flood into Europe and Britain. Where's the war? Oh, but Michael, it's all of the wars from the past, and and they've never really fully recovered. And is it? Really? Because I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all. And the only semblance of truth in that is that, well, yes, there may be motivations tied to the interventions of the West into the Middle East, the wars, the conflicts in the Middle East. But only insofar as maybe they want revenge for that, or maybe insofar as they're thinking, right, now it's our turn to go there and get you back for what we did. So it's revenge. It's two wrongs apparently make a right. So yeah, and these discussions and these topics are sensitive, apparently. This is what I'm in Cambodia. right now. So I can say these things. I can discuss these things. I could probably even write about these. I can write about these things online if I want to. There is going to be no British police constable knocking on my door looking to arrest me because I said something that hurt somebody's feelings online, or I said something that goes against the narrative that's being laid down by the government or by the far left or the liberal woke crowd. So I am fortunately in a position that I have that liberty, the liberty of free speech. And I will never call for violence. I will never tell anyone to go out and enact violence or to enact damage, cause damage, to property and things like this. No, because I don't believe that's the way to go about it. Do I think that those sorts of things are going to happen? Well, of course, it's inevitable it's going to happen. Of course it is. You back any animal into a corner, what's going to happen? Any animal. Problem is, this animal that's being backed into a corner, the animal that we call the European people, they have self-awareness and consciousness way beyond and above that of animals. So what happens when you back those kinds of animals into a corner? That's happening now, and of course, the bite back is coming. It's coming. It's happening. It's going to be. It's inevitable. You cannot avoid it. Unless they turned around tomorrow and started filling planes, trains, boats, and aeroplanes with these people who have entered into the country without invitation, illegally, and oftentimes legally, but under programs designed for the purpose of population replacement. Now, somebody might say to me, "Oh, that's a conspiracy theory, Michael." That's not true. That's just something the far right say to justify their positions. Is it? Is it? Because the statistics, the facts on the ground state otherwise. The testimonials of hundreds of thousands of British people who have either themselves, probably now millions, who have themselves been subjected to violence, or who have a family member or a friend who've been subjected to violence, and maybe have even lost people at the hands of these aliens coming in. And they are alien in the sense that when we use the word an alien culture, that which is so different from the culture, the characteristics, the understandings, the ways of seeing things, the ways of perceiving the world, everything, the religion, everything, the behaviours, where they're so different, they are alien. So therefore, they are alien people. I am an alien to them, and they are an alien to me. They are an alien to us. We are aliens to them. So it's the, how would you say, it's the literal definition of that term. It's not an insult. It's not meant as derogatory statement. It's just a point of fact. Now, unless they get rid of them tomorrow and start doing all of those things that I listed before, the pressure's going to build. And if you go and watch that video that I've just referenced to you, I'll probably link it down in the description below. The resistance is now forming. Now, if he sticks to his plans and the way he's doing it, and does the Gandhi method, applies the Gandhi method, ironically, in Britain, then actually there's a genuine a chance of success there. There's a genuine chance of something tangible occurring, something tangible taking hold. I think it might be a little too late. It might be a little too late. I don't know. We'll see. I still think that the nation as a whole has to go through more before it will finally snap and push back in any true meaningful way. In any true meaningful way. So, but it was nice to see. Well, I say nice to see it. Nice to see in the sense that actually action is now being taken in a serious manner by such a substantially large amount of people. I mean, if that figure is true, and so far as I've looked into it, it does look to be true. 45,000 men is not anything to sniff at. The British Army currently stands at about 73,000 men, and and of that 73,000, I think only like 16,000 are actually infantry, fighting infantry. So having a resistance that can call on 45,000 men at the drop of a hat is nothing to sniff at. It's nothing to sniff at. Now, as I've said before in conversations with people, and I think I might have said it in other videos, my biggest concern in all of this is the members of the death cult. Now, there has been now multiple videos, interviews, podcasts, and stuff with whistleblowers who have blown the whistle on the fact that many of these people in their places of their so-called places of worship are stockpiling munitions, stockpiling tools, shall we say. And I've known this for a long time. I've known for a long time that they were doing this. And I've seen evidence for this. I saw evidence for this years ago. And years ago, I thought it was isolated to maybe one or two places. But I've recently seen multiple instances, multiple evidences that actually no, it's prolific. It's almost in most of them around the UK. So they are gearing up. They are gearing up for the moment when they can really go full on and full conqueror mode, in the way I'm sure they really want to, and install that, long sought after caliphate on the good and green isles of old Albion. So the question is when do they do that? Now, if the British people had just carried on, putting on a stiff upper lip, and just going along to get along and looking after themselves, and just basically carried on acting like they have been for the last 3 decades, certainly the last 2 decades, then they probably would have pulled that trigger only once they reached a certain population level, basically, which is not far off. It's not far off. If you look at, you can actually, there's several interesting books out there on the spread of Islam through the Middle East, and how all of these countries, Libya, Syria, Lebanon, these were all Christian countries. had been for centuries. Centuries and centuries they'd been Christian countries. And the methodology by which Islam spread through it, first with a few just asking to be left alone, then when the number increased, they then began pushing for special privileges, and then once the population reached the third stage of size, full on implementation of Sharia law and full on execution of the overall plan. Full takeover. Lebanon's a classic case. Lebanon, 75 to 76. 1975 to 1976. Classic case. Exactly the same thing is now playing out in Europe and in the UK. And that's how it would have gone. They would have waited to a certain population size and then gone for it. Now, however, in my mind, I suspect that the moment that they sniff or suspect, even slightly, that the tide has turned, that the native British population has finally had enough and is now going to make a stand to ultimately to protect their culture, to protect themselves, to protect their heritage, to protect their land, to protect their children, to protect their future, to protect themselves, to preserve themselves as a group, ultimately. The moment they suspect that switch has flipped, that the pendulum has started to swing to that way, they know they're on limited time. They know then they're on borrowed time. And that if they don't act, everything they've been building up to this point will be for naught. And so I think then that's when they'll pull the trigger. I think that's when they'll pull the trigger, regardless of whether they felt that they were ready with the numbers and the equipment, etc., etc. Do I see this ending without conflict? Some pretty brutal conflict. I don't think I do. Even if you remove yourself emotionally and you just look at the facts, you just look at the numbers, you just look at the statistics, you look at the recorded behaviours of these various groups, how they behave in their own countries, how they behave once they arrive in Europe, how their mentality, and just look at the actual actions, of which then is now like mountains of documented evidence. And you just look at all that from a cold, hard, logical perspective, standpoint, then the answer has to be no. No, I don't think it's going to resolve itself without conflict. Because all of the indicators are just logically, in cold logic, are pointing towards that. So the question is how much? For how long? In what form and shape does it take? I am a hyper-optimist when it comes to the future. Always have been. I'm pretty sure I always will be. I certainly am now. I do genuinely believe we are, as a planet, globally, going to move into, well, whatever you want to call it, golden age, an abundance economy, where we will sort shit out, and it will all come to the good in the end. If you want to get biblical about it, Romans 8:28. All things shall come to the good for those who believe in me and walk in the way of my word, i.e., who just listen to wisdom and apply that wisdom. It'll all be good. It'll be reet, as we say in Yorkshire. It'll be reet. So I am locked in that is truth, and that's where we're going. But the question is that's where we're going. Here is where we are. But we have this in-between bit. And there is where the question mark lays. How fast can we go from here to here? How short a distance can we make that? How painless can we make it? And how can we limit the quantity and the intensity of conflict that occurs in that time as we move through it to get to that space, to get to that time and that place? It's the biggest question in my mind. It has been for a long time now. And it's oftentimes difficult to watch. No, I'm lying. I'm lying. It's not difficult to watch anymore. It was difficult to watch. Before I was able to become an observer, a true observer. It's very difficult to watch because, when I still maintained things like, I suppose what you would call patriotism, a sense of belonging to a homeland, and having attachment to the history of that land, and all of the things that generations and generations of my ancestors have went through in order to bequeath me and my generation the wealth and the assets and the comfort and the standard of living that I was able to grow up in. Granted, I was at the very end of that, and I grew up watching it starting to collapse and crumble around me, but I do still remember when it was a thing, when life was comfortable, and the only suffering and discomfort that occurred was of our own making, as it always is. But there was no excuse of living in, a disadvantaged country or being in a third world country. We had all the advantages, we had all of the comforts. It was a gilded cage, without a shadow of a doubt. It was a gilded cage, and it was. And there was still a tyranny going on, but it was more of a tyranny of the mind and a tyranny of socio-psychological nature, rather than a direct, forceful tyranny that we tend to associate with developing countries and third world countries. But a tyranny nonetheless. It was unseen. It was in here, and it was in here. It wasn't out there. Then it is now. It has become that now. Over the last 20, 30 years, that's exactly what it's become. It's now gone from a socio-psychological tyranny, a tyranny of in here and in here, to also a tyranny out there. So we got the full shebang now. But yeah, the sentiment I held towards all of that, that history and heritage and culture and that's, I can still appreciate it. but there's no longer the deep emotional attachment to it. So I am able to observe it now from with a much more clinical eye. But it was painful for a long time. It was painful for a long time. But all you could do is observe. All you can do is observe. In terms of having any effect on it, being able to effect any change, affect any change, to be effective or effective in any way, to steering all of that and to changing the course of it, no. Once you realize that that's a fallacy, once you realize that that is a fool's errand, and you let it go, you also let go of the guilt and the shame of not having, quote unquote, done enough. Maybe if you'd have just done a bit more, maybe if you'd just been a bit more savvy, maybe if you'd been more successful, had more money, had been in more position of power, maybe you could have affected some sort of change, and maybe you could have lessened this situation, and maybe even prevented it, or at the very least solved it now. No, not true. Never was. It's my principessa, my sweet principessa. Yes. Once you let go of that, it then becomes much more easy to become a clinical observer, a non-emotional, non-reactive observer, and to just see things from the cold, logical facts on the ground. And then from there to be able to extrapolate logically, and also based on our observations of the hundreds of examples throughout history where the same thing has occurred in varying different shapes and forms, where the forms have been different, but the exact functions are exactly the same, as has played out hundreds of times in history. It becomes very easy to see, not the exacts, not the details, but the trend and the general direction, and the inevitability. It becomes self-evident. Doesn't it, Principessa? Yes, it becomes self-evident. She's my beautiful Principessa. Yes, yes. She's trying to play with me now. She's trying to play with me, aren't you? Yes. Yes. So, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go with this, other than to just sort of discuss my reflections on my recent dive back into or glance back into what's going on in the UK after sort of being checked out from it for a couple of weeks. And that's about it. And that's it, really. Those are my reflections on it, which are pretty much my position on it is the same as it has been. It's just the only thing that's changed really is there's more confirmation that the position I held on it is true and is correct. I suppose you could say, and I'll finish it on this, as the cliche saying goes, it's always darkest before the dawn. But I assure you, there is a dawn. There is a very bright and beautiful dawn further down the lane, further down the road. Brothers and sisters, you will see it. Just hold on, you will see it. But we are entering that very, very dark place just before that dawn. So focus on yourself, focus on your self-mastery, Focus on becoming non-reactive. Focus on maintaining your highest frequency and aligning yourself with who and what you truly are, and following synchronicities, following the attraction currents that frequency puts you into, and be open to allowing the change to occur, and that the fact that the change will occur, certainly for yourself in your own perspective and from your own personal felt experience, the more and more you align with that frequency, your highest frequency. So find that frequency and maintain it and try to amplify it. That is the greatest thing you can do as an individual. If there is anything that would ever generate actual affect on this situation and aid it to go through faster in a more painless and more effortless manner, it is the achievement and the maintenance of your highest frequency. That is the greatest gift you could give to the world. It is also your greatest duty. If you still hold to things like duty, then that would be it. So yeah, as promised, I'll land my plane there because I want to give my principessa some attention. Yes. If you've watched up to this point, bless you. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful. And as ever, beautiful brothers and sisters, be safe, be well, and be high vibration. And I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye now.